AM 630. WMAL.
It's 8:36 on WMAL. This is where Washington comes to talk. Larry O'Connor alongside Brian Wilson. Later today, a judge in the city of Baltimore will hear pleas from those 6 police officers who have been indicted on the charges relating to the death of Freddie Gray, and they're going to hear the defense say, listen, they can't get a fair trial in Baltimore because it's a political volatile situation, because of the media coverage, and partly because of the $6.4 million settlement the city just gave to the Freddie Gray family, which certainly suggests and implies that there was wrongdoing there. I happen to think they're correct. We're going to be joined now by Carl Stokes, a Baltimore City Councilman, to talk about this and many other things affecting the city of Baltimore. Thanks for joining us, Councilman Stokes.
Good morning, Brian. How are you today?
Well, thank you. This is Larry, just so you know. But can I just ask you, do these police officers, do they deserve a jury of their peers or a jury of Freddie Gray's peers?
They do Baltimore City's peers. So they are part of the community. That is the ideal. That is what we expect to happen. So we expect them to be a jury selected, who are made up of Baltimoreans. Some are police officers, some are fire officers, some are everyday citizens, some are doctors, some are lawyers, some are unemployed people. And so we expect them. This happened in Baltimore City. And so we expect that the trial will take place in Baltimore City.
Well, how can you do that if the city has just said that they're going to pay the family of Freddie Gray $6.4 million because his death was wrongful? How can the people, the police officers there, get a fair trial if the city government has already sent the message to the prospective jury pool that he died improperly?
Listen, I disagree with that payment having taken place yesterday morning, and I've said that over and over again. I believe that is correct. Not that I don't know if it's fair or not fair. What I do know is that it has been not properly vetted by the citizens of the city, the taxpayers who actually are putting up the money. The mayor's not pulling it out of her pocket. Having said that, it's still is a situation where a fair trial, a fair jury can be selected. I think you're projecting onto people that they cannot walk in unbiased. Obviously, the entire state, the entire country knows about this. So should we move it to California or should we move it out of the country? But everyone has seen this through all of the national media, certainly. And so, again, I am saying I believe in the integrity of the citizens of this city, law enforcement or not, to be able to sit in judgment of their peers.
Since the riots and the unrest that happened in May after the death of Freddie Gray and the build-up to the charges being levied against those officers, since then, what has been done in Baltimore to help the crisis situation in that city? Because the headlines we're seeing suggest that it is more dangerous to be a resident of Baltimore now than it was before the death of Freddie Gray.
Well, certainly the homicides are much greater, and we have the highest homicide rate in the country. But before Freddie Gray, we also had among the highest homicide rates in the country. We've always, unfortunately, had a homicide rate that kept us in the top 3 to 5 in the country. We don't always lead in the number of homicides because there are places bigger than we are, but we've always had this. So it has been a matter for over a decade of Baltimore's policing, but it's bigger than policing. Policing is only a small component of this. It is the fact that 25% of the residents of Baltimore City are living in poverty. It is the fact that we have a very poor education system in Baltimore. It is the fact that we have an unemployment rate that is at least a third is higher than the state average. It is maybe twice as much as the national average. It is a bunch of social conditions that are going on in this town that have not been addressed for 20 years or so.
Well, and I would agree with that, but I guess the question then is, why should the people of Baltimore continue to elect people who have the same basic worldview, values, and principles if they continue to have this problem decade after decade? Is it time for some fresh ideas?
Yeah, they should definitely get rid of the folk who are there.
But you're one of those folks, Councilmember Stokes.
So you say. I don't think you know that I've been outvoted in the last 5 years. I left for 15 years, came back 5 years ago, and I'm usually outvoted something like 13 to
Okay. Well, then,
so I'm on the short end of a lot of sticks.
Educate me then, because I'm thrilled to hear that. Tell me how you differ from the council members you sit next to every day and from Mayor Rawlings.
Well, first of all, I asked when I came back 5 years ago for an audit of all city agencies because I found out the city agencies had not been audited in 30-plus years. I couldn't find anybody who remembered an audit, and the oldest person I found had been an employee or employees of the city for 30 years. So I asked that we audit all of the agencies, and we do it every other year from this point on. I was rejected. That vote went down something like 13-6. Or 14-5, I forget. It was rejected. I asked in other ways that we change how we do business. In Baltimore City, we have the mayor controls all of the budget, controls all of the finances, all of the contracts, etc. I asked that we break that up so that the president of the city council and a third party have a three-person joint Board of Estimates as opposed to the mayor having complete control of the Board of Estimates. I can go on, but I'm saying to you that I'm losing votes in the council. I'm losing votes all the time.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Mayor Rollins Blake, an argument can be made that the police officers were following the direct orders of the mayor and others who are concerned about crime in a particular area. Do they hold any responsibility for what happened here?
The mayor, you're saying, or the police officers?
Well, the police officers got memos from politicians saying there's a problem in this area. We need you to crack down. Right.
Yeah. Well, but you can do your job correctly. Correctly does not mean. I don't know if you've followed, frankly, the articles of the Baltimore Sun. I don't know if you've followed David Simon's conversations about this. The police in Baltimore City have a horrible record of police brutality, and over and over and over and over again, there is a group, a core, not the greater majority by any stretch of the imagination, but there's a core that has been allowed to stay police officers for as long as they wish to stay. And their job is to beat up people. Their job is to hurt people. Their job is to take people on these rough rides in these vans. The history is clearly there of the number of people who have taken these rough rides and been severely injured over the last few years.
All right. We have to leave it there, but we always love having you, Carl Stokes. We hope you'll come back again because you seem to tell it like it is. But, that last thing you said, it sounds to me like an institutional problem, not necessarily. I mean, he's reinforcing that fact. Maybe it's not from the mayor's office, but maybe it's from the police office.
Maybe.
All right. We'll continue to follow that, of course, our neighbors to the north. It's